Scene script. Have you ever questioned how you would react if your life handed you circumstances that seemed impossible? If so, you are not alone. We often hear stories of people who have faced incredible challenges yet somehow managed to rise above them. These people, these survivors, possess an inner strength that can seem almost supernatural. But what is this resilience? And how does one tap into it? Take, for example, the story of a young girl who lost her mother at the tender age of 10. Picture her world turned upside down as she is thrust into a new family dynamic that was far from welcoming. A stepmother with 6 children of her own who harbored a deep-seated resentment for this outsider in her newly formed family. An environment that was more battlefield than home, a place where she was made to feel like an intruder rather than a member of the family. The world of social services and foster homes became her reality, a merry-go-round of unfamiliar faces and temporary shelters. Yet, this young girl refused to be defined by her circumstances. She refused to let the hostility of her stepmother, the instability of her living conditions, or the pain of her loss defeat her. She was determined not to become a statistic, not to fall into the trap of substance abuse or early parenthood. She chose to fight, to endure, to persevere. She became a woman of resilience, a woman of strength. She refused to give her stepmother the satisfaction of seeing her broken. Instead, she chose to rise, to prove to herself and to the world that she was more than her circumstances. She was not a victim of her environment, but rather a survivor, a fighter, a testament to the power of inner strength. There is an old saying, "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger." This was the mantra that carried our protagonist through the early years of her life. And so, she passed the test of time, standing as a beacon of hope and resilience for all those who find themselves in seemingly impossible situations. The world of a child is supposed to be filled with love and care. But what happens when this world turns upside down? Imagine being 10 years old, still full of wide-eyed wonder and innocence. One day, you're playing in the yard, your mother's laughter echoing in the background. The next, you're standing in a sea of black, your mother's laughter replaced by the deafening silence of her absence. This was the harsh reality that our protagonist found herself in. In the blink of an eye, her world shifted from a place of warmth and affection to one where she was treated as an unwanted outsider. A new woman entered her father's life, a woman who brought with her a brood of 6 and a heart devoid of warmth for our protagonist. She was a stepmother in the truest sense of the word, far from kind and caring. The disruption was profound. Our protagonist was thrust into a life that seemed more like a grim fairy tale than reality. She was suddenly part of a family where she was the odd one out, the unwanted stepchild. It was a world where love was rationed, and she was often left wanting. And then, the unthinkable happened. The welfare people arrived, their stern faces and cold demeanor a stark contrast to the warmth she once knew. They took her away, not once, but several times. She was tossed between foster homes, each one more unfamiliar than the last. The instability of her life was a constant reminder of the love she had lost and the bitterness that had replaced it. But here's where her story takes an unexpected turn. Despite her harsh reality and the trials she endured, she refused to let her circumstances define her. She held on to her dignity, her spirit unbroken. She would not give her stepmother the satisfaction of seeing her defeated. She was determined to rise above, to create a life that was a testament to her strength and resilience. Despite the trials and tribulations, our protagonist held onto her dignity and refused to be broken. She was determined to rise above the circumstances. Childhood trauma can leave deep scars, yet it's possible to turn these scars into badges of honor. This journey begins with understanding the different types of childhood trauma and recognizing how they can significantly impact emotional and psychological development. Childhood trauma often takes root in adverse experiences that are deeply distressing or disturbing. This can range from physical or emotional abuse, neglect, witnessing violence, or the abrupt loss of a loved one. These experiences can leave lasting imprints on a child's mind, shaping their beliefs, behaviors, and how they interact with the world around them. Our protagonist's story is a testament to this. The loss of her mother at a tender age, followed by years of neglect and emotional abuse at the hands of her stepmother, could have easily broken her spirit. Yet, she chose to rise above her circumstances. She refused to let her traumatic past define her future. She used her experiences as stepping stones to build her resilience. Every harsh word, every act of neglect, every moment of despair became fuel for her determination to not just survive, but thrive. She chose to learn from her experiences, to understand them not as a life sentence, but as lessons that could guide her towards a stronger, more resilient self. She learned to recognize the signs of trauma within herself, to understand the roots of her pain. And with this understanding came the power to heal. She slowly began to replace the negative beliefs instilled in her by her traumatic past, with empowering affirmations of her strength, her worth, and her ability to overcome. She sought help when she needed it, leaning on supportive friends, mentors, and professionals. She nurtured her emotional health, learned to set boundaries, and slowly rebuilt her self-esteem. She became the architect of her own resilience, the author of her own story. The past cannot be changed, but the perspective towards it can be. Our protagonist chose to see her past as a source of strength, and in doing so, she transformed her childhood trauma into a testament of her resilience, a badge of honor in her journey towards healing and growth. Resilience is not about avoiding difficulties, but about facing them head-on and bouncing back. Let's take a moment to appreciate the sheer strength and resolve of our protagonist. Even in the face of relentless hate and scorn from her stepmother, she refused to let it define her. She chose to rise above it, to not let it color her perception of herself or the world. Imagine being a young girl, losing your mother, then being thrust into a family where you are unwanted. Imagine being yanked in and out of foster homes, never having a stable place to call home. The tempest of life was raging around her, threatening to pull her under at any moment, but she refused to let it break her. She clung on, weathered the storm, and emerged stronger and more resilient. And that's the power of resilience. It's the ability to not just endure hardship, but to grow from it. It's the strength to not crumble under pressure, but to use it as a catalyst for transformation. It's the audacity to face the world with a head held high, even when it seems to be against you. Our protagonist didn't just survive through her challenging circumstances, she thrived. She didn't resort to drugs or alcohol to numb her pain. She didn't let her past dictate her future. She chose to rise above her circumstances, to build a life for herself that was not defined by her stepmother's hatred, but by her own strength and resolve. She is the embodiment of resilience. She is a living testament to the fact that resilience is not just about survival, but about growth. It's about turning adversity into opportunity, about using the trials and tribulations of life as stepping stones to become a stronger, more resilient individual. And the most remarkable thing, she did it all on her own. She found the strength within herself to persevere, to refuse to let her situation define or defeat her. She is a testament to the power of resilience, to the strength that lies within each one of us, waiting to be unleashed. In the face of adversity, our protagonist didn't just survive, she thrived. Every story carries a lesson, and our protagonist's story is no different. Her journey, as tumultuous as it was, brought forth a series of meaningful lessons that extend beyond her personal experience and resonate with all of us. The foremost among these is the remarkable power of resilience. Despite the challenging circumstances she was born into, she refused to be defeated. Even when she was in and out of foster homes, she found the strength within herself to persevere, to keep going, to keep fighting. Her story is a testament to the fact that resilience is not something we're born with, but something we develop. It's a muscle we build in the face of adversity. It's the refusal to be defined by our circumstances, to be defeated by them. It's the determination to rise, to grow, to overcome. The impact of childhood trauma is another significant lesson from her journey. It's a stark reminder that such experiences can profoundly affect our emotional and psychological development, but it's also a beacon of hope. It's proof that with resilience, with determination, we can navigate through the traumas of our past and emerge stronger on the other side. Yet perhaps the most crucial lesson she offers us is the importance of not letting circumstances define us. She could have easily let her past dictate her future, but she refused. She chose to rise above her circumstances, to forge her own path. She refused to give her stepmonster the satisfaction of getting the best of her. She chose to be resilient, to be strong, to be a woman of no nonsense. Her journey, her story, is a powerful reminder that we all have the strength within us to overcome, to persevere, to rise above our circumstances. We just have to tap into it, to nurture it, to let it guide us. Remember, it's not about what life throws at you, but how you handle it. Stay strong, stay resilient, and keep moving forward.